Hey, welcome back to another video. I haven't done actually one of these in a while, but here we are. This is gonna be my games played in 2023 video, and I'm doing it a lot sooner than I did my 2022 one. So there we go. I think it's been a good year overall. A lot of fun games that I played, and it was kind of pretty much a lot of back-to-back gaming, a lot of JRPGs, as you're gonna see coming up. And there's only really like a lull in the summer, and before it picked up again, and hasn't really stopped since. So that's been really fun. If you haven't already, I made another video about games I missed in 2023 of games that are not on here. For example, Baldur's Gate 3, haven't played it, and that's been on every single list everywhere that you go. It have a list that is there. So yeah, so let's get into it. I'm gonna do it how I do in my like older classical what videos when I first started doing this series, like in 2018. I'm just gonna go through the months, pick only certain games that I feel like talking about, and then yeah, we're just gonna go and do that. So we'll start with January. The big game here is of course Persona 5 Royale. If you remember from my last video, that wasn't that long ago. It was like in November. I finished it, and it took me about 184 hours. It's a long playthrough. I did play a little bit of New Game Plus as well. But this is one of those games where you're gonna love it, or you're just not gonna understand what is going on. There's a lot of slice of life things that are great. There's some cool characters, there's good dialogue, and some really repetitive and bad dialogue. But the best turn-based combat you'll have, I think the only competition really is Octopath Traveler, where I really love the turn-based combat in that. But in this one, it's phenomenal. They do a really, really good job. The UI, you'll always hear people talking about the UI being super snappy, super sleek, and the music is incredible as well. All right, let's get into February. The only game I really care to talk about on this one is the game that I finished, started in January, and I finished it here. It is Judgment. It is the Yakuza spin-off with Yagami, and it's great. I really like Judgment. I think I have a Yakuza ranking, and I could just throw it up on here as a little spoiler. I was gonna think about doing a video. Maybe I'll do a video about it. But yeah, it's just more Yakuza, and it's with different characters. He has no back tattoo, so it's a little bit like but it's I think overall I have a really good impression of this one. Still doesn't rank very high on my list because it has no Kiryu, and they're missing a lot of the mini games and the stuff that makes the Yakuza series really special. But I think this one overall I did really enjoy. The combat, same engine as Yakuza 6 and Kiwami 2. Played this one for like 71 hours. Really good. If you're a fan of Yakuza, you're gonna have a good time here. I mean, RGG's formula is pretty like set at this point. Going to March, trying Wulong Fallen Dynasty didn't go so well. But I did start another game that I'm gonna talk about when I finished it in April. And so anything of note, I started playing Persona 5 Strikers, and this is when I started also using more of my Steam Deck. You see over there that this is a Steam game, so the Steam games I was able to play on the Steam Deck, obviously. And the Game Pass games are really hard to play on the Steam Deck unless you're doing cloud, which happens. You can do it and you can get away with it, and it can work fine. But yeah, so we played a little bit of the Diablo 4 open beta during this month. So the Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Enterprise campaign continued, and Persona 5 Strikers was really the big game I was playing in March. I'm going to get into that. I do have a little bit of a write-up for that one, and we'll talk about that in April. So when we get into April, a game I did finish. We actually did finish the Total War Warhammer 3 Empire's Co-op campaign. We finished that in April. We actually started playing Diablo 2 Resurrected, which we finished in April with one of my other friends. So we played Diablo 2 Resurrected. So if you watched my other video about not playing Diablo 4 this year, it's because we played Diablo 2 Resurrected earlier in the year, and we're kind of like, oh yeah, we got Diablo, and we don't want to pay $70 for another Diablo game. But the big game is the Persona 5 Strikers, which again, go for Persona 5 Royale to Judgment to Persona 5 Strikers, and you're gonna see this trend continue pretty much for a good amount of the year here. But Persona 5 Strikers, put 57 hours into it. So I have fond memories of this game, but I'm just gonna read real quick the verdict that I had on it when I was writing. Let me go through these points of what I liked about it and what I didn't. And so really quickly, though, some of the pros. The combat is good, like overall good. It could be very visually impairing and hard to see what's going on, but once you get a hang of it, it's really fun. The second phase of the final boss battle, I don't want to get too much into it, but it does utilize all the characters, and I thought that was really cool. I like the story between Jails 3 and 4. So in Persona 5 Royale, it's in palaces, and in Persona 5 Strikers, it's in jails. And so between Jails 3 and 4, there's some really fun slice of life stuff that I really enjoyed. It was my favorite in the game. Some of the things I didn't like there's a high ceiling for the combat, but it does plateau pretty quickly, and so it gets very samey very quickly. But getting into it is difficult, but once you know what you're doing, the game just doesn't really have that much of a challenge anymore. It is worse in almost every way compared to Royale in terms of like menus, and they changed the key mapping. That was strange. I forgot they even did that. That's why you gotta take notes after you play games. The slow menu transitions were really infuriating. In Royale, they're super slick, well timed, but in Strikers, they're like more sluggish. It's so strange. So strange. Yeah. So I'm gonna just like skip a lot of this verdict part. I'm just gonna read this last part of like, do I recommend this game? So I don't think it's gonna please turn-based fans of Persona 5 because it's not that. It's like Dynasty Warriors combined with like a combo action game. The story is worse and it's kind of repetitive from Persona 5. It's not a Persona 5 Royale sequel, it's a Persona 5 vanilla sequel. So a lot of the characters and the story after you come straight from Royale like takes out the last month that you played and it jumps back in time and does a direct sequel from there. So it is pretty strange. Really, it's gonna come down to if you like the combat in the game or not. So I recommend giving it a try if it goes on sale. If you want more Persona 5 delivered in a slightly different way in terms of combat. Not a lot of the slice of life day-to-day stuff is in this. Yeah, so in May, it was just more Diablo 2 Resurrected and getting into Lost Judgment. So I went from Persona 5 Royale to Judgment, Persona 5 Strikers, to Lost Judgment. And so Lost Judgment was a game that I mainly played in May, and in June is when I finished it, about 70 hours of a playthrough of Lost Judgment. And I do have the write-up for Lost Judgment, which I did not like as much as Judgment. And I think there was a lot of production issues in this game. I think it showed a lot in terms of just like of some of the cons I'll go through. So let me tell you what I did like. The characters and most of the story, right? The characters are the same ones from the Judgment series. You know, you got Yagami and you have all of those characters that I'm now forgetting all of their names because it's been a while. The story is good, but it does get repetitive towards the end, and it happens. And I think the court scenes are really poorly done and a very nonsensical. The combat is probably the best in the series. It's really, really good. There's a lot of different stances and approaches to encounters. It does get easier as all RPG games. It does get very easy towards the end when you start unlocking all the abilities and getting all the good heat moves. The school clubs were fantastic, and I have some favorites on there, and I do some on the negatives. Some negatives like the Mystery Research Club, like with Amasawa. She's an amazing character, amazing addition to the cast, and I really feel like the school club should have been tied more into the main story and incorporated more because that was the most interesting stuff in the game. Yeah, so I really love the Mystery Research Club, the Boxing Club, Esports Club, Robotics Club were some of my favorites. Cons, there's some stealth and chase sequences, terrible. Some of the worst school clubs, like the biker game, was terribly buggy and just terrible. It was the worst one to go through. I was struggling through it. The ones that are kind of underbanked, the casino one's just kind of pointless. It's just there. The photography club just kind of a couple of like, it's like could have been a sub story. It doesn't even have to even be a full like club. The girls bar started like very interesting and it got very repetitive very, very, very quickly. And the mechanics of like the dance club and the skaters club I did not enjoy at all. I think on the dance one I just flipped that on easy. I did not really like how that was presented. I just couldn't get it. And the skaters one is so simplistic, it wasn't that fun. Inconsistent voice acting was kind of strange. I think they recorded some of this at home because it kind of really did feel like the characters weren't in the same area or weren't getting the same direction on a lot of their lines. What else to see? The game does feel, I think this is talking about this with the project. The game feels unfinished and rushed. Every part of the game feels like it's missing. It's like Yakuza RGG soul in it. I think because they had to go pretty quick and finish this through like the COVID time. So like you can't really blame them. They got the game out, but playing it well after, you're just like, oh yeah, this is something's off here. Drone racing and Dyson Cube. Didn't like those. If you love the Yakuza series and the first Judgment game, there's plenty here for you to engage and enjoy with. However, the game feels incomplete, has a lot of club activities, and mini games are missing the polish and the charm that the rest of the series is known for. After finishing the game, I'm having a difficult time deciding whether I like this game as a whole. I was really struggling with this, huh? Some parts are excellent, like the boxing club, but a lot of the game is very lackluster and frustratingly clunky, like the biker gang. Yeah, the climbing mechanics, the stealth. And like so, depending on how much you can tolerate, the underbaked feeling of this game will decide your enjoyment level. And it is one of the most underbaked ones of the Yakuza series. Let's go to the next game that I played, and it is Tinykin. I played and finished it in the same month of June. And Tinykin is great. Like, I'm just gonna say very little about it. Like, I mean, the gameplay is great, the art style. It's a perfect palate cleanser with all those 4 JRPGs in a row. It's a tight 6-hour experience that does not overstay its welcome. Huge for a palate cleanser. A great palate cleanser and a very charming game, and I highly recommend playing this one. Tinykin is great. It was on Game Pass, so it was an amazing one to play if you haven't played it yet. I'll have like the list of things I tried, like trying Redfall, oof, Atomic Heart, ugh. Infinite Guitars is fine, whatever. I didn't really get into it. Ghostwire Tokyo, I didn't really like that one either. So there's some other games in there that I played and tried. Shadow Warrior 3, also I played it, didn't really get very far in it. July was an intense month because just finished that 4 gauntlet of JRPGs from Persona 5 Royale, Judgment, Persona 5 Strikers, Lost Judgment, did my palate cleanser with Tinykin. So July was it was a month of trying to find something to play, and it took me a minute, like trying Shadow Warrior 3, Battletech, Sword and Fairy Together Forever. I wish that game was better, but it had some massive performance issues on PC on the Game Pass, where like the menus were super laggy and they're just unplayable. Whole bunch of other games. There's a lot of also games I haven't really talked about that we played co-op, like, you know, Insurgency Sandstorm, Battlefield 2042. Like, there's some other games I played with my friends that we'll get into those. Like, I don't know if I'm going to even talk about them more in the single player game stuff, but I did play a little bit of Death Stranding here, which we'll come back to a little bit later. But this was a month of trying a lot of different things. We did play Gunfire Reborn, which was really fun, good co-op roguelike game that I thought was really enjoyable. Let's get into August, where we pretty much wrapping up Gunfire Reborn, Insurgency Sandstorm, and where I started really getting into Death Stranding. I actually played that before the month before, but then I kind of got lost in the shuffle. I played it like I think last year or the year before. I played a little bit of it and kind of like bounced off it pretty quick. And then I jumped back on right as it's leaving Game Pass, and I was like, oh no, but I had it on Epic Game Store. So I was like, oh, I have it on there. I can still play it. And I can also play it on, because it was on Epic, I could play it on Steam Deck. But I started getting into Death Stranding, and that was a surprising game. So I started that in August. It carried me to the next game. So Death Stranding, played it for about 60 hours. I actually really liked it. I thought it was really enjoyable, and I think it was the perfect time to get into it after everyone else has played it and they have established the chiral network pretty well already. So when you started unlocking areas, you had so many things to help you along the way that it didn't feel like the game that I heard about it was, about how it was like you're by yourself and you're trying to connect these different towns together, these different hubs, and you have to, but then when you're going out there, there's so much just materials and structures that other people have built. That's so even when you're doing your zip lines, when you're building your roads, you're not doing it from zero. You kind of already feel like you're in a community building it up. And like just mechanically, I got really into just the mechanics of walking. The walking simulator, I used to make fun of it, but it was I really enjoyed it. I kind of like, again, I just got hooked in, and I just went full in. I absolutely loved my time with Death Stranding. I was very, very surprised, and it took me all the way to Starfield, which was the game I played a ton of in September, one of the main games I played there. And so Starfield pretty much took me all the way through November, all the way to November, to pretty much November 1st. So in October, pretty much I finished it right on November 1st. I finished Starfield 142 hours. There is so much to say about Starfield. I loved my first like 100 hours with the game because I did not touch the main story at all. I did a couple missions until it set you free, and like when Sarah no longer was like locked to you as a companion. And I had a really good time just doing the factions, just exploring on my own, finding ways to make money, to build up your ship, to get all of the ship upgrades, going around exploring the galaxy, doing those faction missions, just having fun with the game. And by the time I finished all those max faction missions, did all that exploration, I'm like, hey, let me go do the main story. And wow, terrible. That's the worst Bethesda main story line quest I've ever had. It was just really dumb. I don't know why they went that direction with don't want to get into too many spoilers, but if you know, you know. I think by this time a lot of people already know. And I was so disappointed. And just like it went from like the really fun first 100 hours to like a terrible, very unfun 42 hours to finish it, or like the 170 or whatever it's logged in. But I struggled through the end of that one, and it was really sad because I have such now just not good memories of Starfield because of how it ended and how my time finished with the game, when I had a really good time with it at first. And I think a lot of people share that same sentiment, where the reviews went from like mostly positive mix to negative, because yeah, the game just doesn't leave a good impression, which is really sad. And yeah, what a disappointment, but I had a really good time playing it. until the last couple weeks of it. So like at the end of October, I was like, I'm ready to let's get this over with. Let's end this already. Let's finish up this game. Let me talk about a palate cleanser that I did that was kind of surprising, called Thirsty Suitors. It's very much a Persona knockoff because it has very much the slice of life days. Like you wake up in the morning, you cook, you go do whatever day activity it is, like do some whatever quest or do something with the skate park, and then you come back home, you talk to your dad, you fall asleep, you wake up, you cook, you go out, you do. So it's very much has a slice of life day progression. And it has turn-based combat as well. You can turn off the QTEs, which I did, but they auto-complete, so when you see the gameplay, it looks like I'm super good at the game, but I put on the auto because I do not like QTEs. If you are familiar with how I like to play games in my channel, no QTEs please. It does greatly affect my enjoyment of games. But I think this was a really fun, good palate cleanser. Another good palate cleanser after Starfield, before getting into playing City Skylines 2, which I got really into and I really liked, and then jumping right back into the Yakuza franchise with RGGs, now the Like a Dragon franchise with Gaiden, that I played and finished in November. It took me about 26 hours. Not as long of a game, just because this is very much for the fans of the series. It's all fan. The whole entire game is fan service. I think it was a good time. I really enjoyed my time with it. It was good being back in Brawler Kiru's fashion style, because I was doing Yagami so much this year. Just be back with Kiru is like, or not Kiru, Joru or whatever. But there's some great things, like the Coliseum stuff is amazing. The Akame network was a fun little twist of the game, and this one was really hard at the start, but it gets really easy at the end. Like it goes from very difficult, almost being like, oh no, am I not gonna be able to get through this first boss fight, to like wiping out the content completely with no issue at all. It's amazing how much that flips. Yeah, so let's just go into December, where I did start Persona 5 Tactica, and I was like, oh man, here we go again, playing a RGG game into an Atlas game again, going from Atlas RGG, here we go again, right? So in December, I started to play Persona 5 Tactica, and I just bounced off of it pretty hard. I couldn't get into it. If you watch my other video about games I missed in 2023, one of the reasons Baldur's Gate 3 I did not jump on right away is because of my struggles with the tactics RPGs, the CRPGs. I have not found one that I really could get into, and I don't know, I can't believe this is a full price game. This was on Game Pass, thankfully, and I cannot believe this is a full price game. It should be like 20 bucks. I can't really say much about it because I didn't play very much of it, but I bounced off of it pretty hard. So if you're wondering where the Persona 5 Tactica game is, I didn't finish it. Started Remnant 2, which I'm still playing, and I haven't finished. Really enjoying that one. You'll probably see that in the next video list. The next, like my games in 2024, you'll probably see that one, and you'll probably see Wild Hearts. Been playing that. If you remember the other video, see that. And so, but let me talk about the last game that I played, and we can conclude and wrap up this video. So it was, I finished with another Yakuza game, another RGG game, another Like a Dragon game, Like a Dragon, Ishin. Yeah, I played this for about 44 hours. I finished this in the first week of January, so I think it still counts. It's my video, I get to make the rules. Yeah, this was like, it's when I struggled with a lot at the beginning, just like with Gaiden. It was pretty difficult. I was trying to figure out how to play it. I'm like, wasn't used to having this many weapons, or just how the game works. Getting thrown back into that Yakuza 0 engine, I forgot what it's called, instead of the Dragon engine. Like with Gaiden, I just came out of 3 games I played in the Dragon engine, with Judgment, Lost Judgment, and Gaiden, and so then getting thrown back to that Yakuza 0, like Yakuza 0, Yakuza 5, I think Kiwami 1, that engine was kind of like a little bit of whiplash. Like, whoa, here we are. We're in this RGG way of life here. But then as I played it more, I stuck with it, because I know RGG games, I'm a sucker for them. Like, I'm always gonna love them and play them, and it's just always gonna be that way. I stuck with it, I played it, and once you start unlocking abilities, you unlock those cards, and you start to get things that kind of synchronize with each other, and you start crafting weapons, it's much more fun. The combat is much better than I thought it was at first. Enjoyment level will vary, obviously. I pretty much stuck with the katana style with like the swordsman for most of the game. Swordsman and Wild Dancer were the main ones I used. Barely used Brawler. I couldn't get it to work well. I think I was missing some kind of upgrade or something that was supposed to get that off the ground. I thought the story was really good. It was really interesting to see all the characters that I know and love from the series, and I never reference them by their names in game. So anytime I see Majima on screen, I'm like, Majima, and it wouldn't be like whatever. I don't even know what his character name was. Yes, I still don't. Or a Sajiba. I don't know what their names were. There's a lot of great sub stories in here. Some are really fun. Like one lady talks too much and you have to listen to what she says, and then she quizzes you at the end. And there's some like the typical fare where some sub stories are amazing and some are just kind of like, yeah, you know, they're not the best ever. And the farming sim with Haruka is incredible. I really enjoyed it, and now I'm playing Coral Island this year, which that's something for another day. Because I was that's being the 2024 video. I'm like, man, I really need to play a farming sim because it got me back into farming sims. Like, I really want to play more farming sims. And I really enjoyed that in the game. It was a good way to end the year with another Like a Dragon game. Pretty much, I was playing Remnant 2, Wild Hearts, and Like a Dragon Ishin all together, like separating my time, pretty much a third of my gaming time between the three, because I was struggling with Ishin, until Ishin started taking off, and I went full focused with Ishin, and I had a really good time with the ending and finishing that game up. And yeah, and it didn't last too long, so like there's so much more you could play in that game, but I only did, pretty much my philosophy with Ishin was play what I like, don't play what I don't like. It's such a simple thing, but sometimes you get completionist in you and you want to do everything that the game has to offer. But now I just play the parts I like, and then because after you play enough RGG games, they're pretty much the same fare all over again, and which I'm really looking forward to. So let's get into like what I'm looking forward to this year, the early year of what you potentially will see on my next video, on the 2024 video, would be like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Dragon's Dogma 2 in the beginning of the year, and Persona 3 Reload are some of the games I will be playing. And then you'll see, of course, some 2023 games like Remnant 2, Wild Hearts, Coral Island. Yeah, do I have a game of the year? It should have been Starfield, but Starfield kind of just fell by the wayside. What would even my game of the year be? Do I have one? That is so interesting. I don't. So Like a Dragon Ishin, it's between Like a Dragon Ishin, Like a Dragon Gaiden, City Skylines, Thirsty Suitors, Starfield, Death Stranding, like I technically Insurgency Sandstorms, Battlefield 2042, Gunfire Reborn. Just looking at games I played: Lost Judgment, Tinykin, Diablo 2 Resurrected, Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires co-op campaign, Persona 5 Strikers. I already know which one it's going to be. It's going to coming up. Judgment, and the game of the year is going to be, and it's going to Persona 5 Royale. It just perfectly, because as I was going back, what was the game I started with? Persona 5 Royale. I am a Persona fan. It made me play two other Persona games, Persona 5 games, Persona 5 Strikers, and Persona 5 Tactical, which I didn't bounce off of. And I actually tried Persona 4 Golden, but I couldn't get into it. So but that's my game of the year, Persona 5 Royale. So that's my list. That's my stuff. Thanks for watching. Yeah, thanks for anyone who's still around from when I started my Black Desert Online content. Great. I know I got my OG, my friends. I got my same friends watching these. If they get this far in the video, message me if you got this far in the video. But yeah, that's it. That's the video. I'm gonna go and start editing this eventually, and yeah, let's have a really great year. I really enjoyed 2023. Yeah, man. Yeah, guys. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.